You're listening to Factual America.
The film chronicles a really unknown chapter of Robin Williams' life, because I think, there's been some really amazing biopics made about this, iconic figure that cover where he was born and his early rise to fame and all that stuff. But actually, the way that Robin passed from this world, we sort of didn't really get a clear understanding of, and that was one because what it actually was he didn't know during his lifetime, and then two is that even his wife and family members didn't know until after his autopsy, which was 3 months after he passed. So finding this rare neurological disease, Lewy Body Dementia, just like rife throughout his brain, neurologists said it's one of the worst cases they'd ever seen. The idea that was kind of unknown information and really missed the news cycle around his death, because when he dies, you want to report whatever the story is within a day or two, right? The idea that the science wasn't clear until 3 months later left this as a sort of story that was untold. And so the powerful thing I think this film does is reveal that truth, reveal the truth of who Robin was as a man, which I really fell in love with, was the idea of like, Robin Williams is larger than life, but Robin, that was really just a beautiful human being that was behind all that incredible work. And so we did, I think, a good job of revealing that person. And so you learn what really happened to him, what he went through. I think if you're trying to understand someone, the way that they face adversity, and I think you could easily say that this Lewy Body Dementia that he faced was his biggest adversity in his life. You learn a lot about who he really was, because I think that's when you either bend or break or stand up, and I think he stood up, and the film's really a testament to that, about who he really was and getting that story correct around why he left us all.
Well, I think these are all issues we're going to then delve into in a little more detail here, hopefully. Often in episodes like this one, where we're talking about someone who's famous, I often have to say, well, ask who. Well, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that person, because generationally people may not know him. But the thing is with Robin Williams, I mean, I mention it to my kids and they know immediately who he is. I mean, he's Teddy Roosevelt at night at the museum. I mean, I don't think we have to tell the world who Robin Williams is. That's the amazing thing about this. But I think one thing you did capture, you did have a little bit of a look back at the Robin Williams that, I think we know and love. So if you don't mind, we've got you've provided us with some clips. So we're going to listen to another one about, I think this is Sean Levy from the director-producer of Night at the Museum series, about Robin, how he was always on.
When you're in the room with Robin, it is full go.
Thank you.
Not at all. Theodore Roosevelt, 26th President of these United States of America, at your service.
He was a constant spark, comedic spark, idea spark, throwing in lines, improvising a ton. Some of the biggest laughs are things that Robin invented on the fly. I remember many, many days where Ben Stiller and I would look at each other because we're just watching Robin Williams off the top of his head just go off. And that kind of manic, wildly creative, bottomless pit of ideas. That mojo, that ability, which was like a superpower, I'd never seen anything like it.
We better go.
I mean, I think that's a good sort of synopsis of the Robin Williams I grew up with. It's just amazing. I mean, his appearances on like talk shows and The Tonight Show were just iconic. These are things you can still look up on YouTube and watch to this day, and they're absolutely hilarious. We had never seen anything like this guy. But you were already alluding to this. That's the Robin we do know, but what didn't we know? Not so much about what he didn't know, but tell us about those last year and a half, 2 years. What was Robin going through, but more, what were others seeing, in terms of how Robin was living his life?
Yeah. So Robin was, experienced a slow and steady decline, which for him was deeply perceptible, right? It's the idea that the thing that we all recognize about Robin Williams, and the reason that those shows that he did on late night, those appearances were so special, is because you could see in real time that this like superhuman ability he had to create like entire worlds and fantasies and like make us all laugh and draw us into these things that he was creating could happen in a moment, that he had that kind of faculty about him. So he had these imperceptible sort of dips in his abilities, but he felt them very deeply. And so, you know, you hear Sean Levy talking about that in the film, but it was basically this idea that, you know, he was having trouble remembering lines. He was having trouble combining his lines with a performance, and that was very unusual for him because, you know, just months before the last Night at the Museum film, where these things started really becoming noticeable to others, you know, he was doing a one-man show almost on Broadway called The Bengal Tiger at the Baghdad Zoo. And I mean, it was a 1-hour play where there's like, I think there's like a 10-minute intermission, but he's going full speed with almost all the lines, and he never misses a beat because he's Robin Williams.
Yeah.
But he starts noticing this steep and precipitous decline that begins in what I think his wife and his close friends experienced as a drip. You know, he didn't feel quite as comfortable going up on stage and doing improv anymore, which, like, you know, his wife describes as being, you know, she knew it was a bummer for him because that was actually something that fueled him. He got so much joy out of it. And so to see him pull away from that, she was concerned, but thought, you know, he's 60 years old and maybe he wants to like slow down or hang out, you know, like nothing where people were deeply concerned in the beginning. But the idea that on Night at the Museum 3, Sean Levy, the director, was having trouble getting a good performance from Robin, I think that's where people started going, oh, wow, like something is wrong.
Okay.
And then it extends to the last TV show Robin did. So I don't want to jump too far ahead, but they started noticing other symptoms there that were physical, and he was having to get brain scans while he was in production on that show, which is never a good thing, and deeply memorable if you're David E. Kelley, who's like helming that show, that if your person at the top of the billing sheet is having to have brain scans, it's a scary moment. And I think actually the thing that's really powerful about this film is you get a lot of people coming forward who are saying, you know, I was deeply traumatized by what I saw my friend and my partner, my colleague go through. And this was an opportunity for them to share those stories, which I think actually was really cathartic.